Well, you know what's interesting is, and I do this a lot, you go to do a coach's clinic, and I've done a lot of them, and I'm sure you've done them, and you go to coach's clinics for youth deals, and I ask the coaches all the time, so tell me how much, baseball is mental. And you'll get people that are saying, well, 90%, 75%, 150, whatever. And then I look at them and I go, so how much mental time do you spend in practice? And they'll look at you, and it's like, a good percentage of them is zero.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the world's favorite youth baseball podcast, Clearing the Bases, featuring Coach Jimmy, Phil, and Jerry. I'm David Friedman. I want to thank you for coming along on this ride with us.
They want to do well for their parents. They want to be the best pitcher. They want to do things, and as they're in this pleasing mode, it's like I tell kids all the time, I said, hey, on the front of your jersey, does it say mom? No. Does it say dad? No. I said, it's got the name of your team. I said, you need to please yourself. You need to help your peers, do well in a game and be a part of the thing. And so you're contributing. And I said, it's not about pleasing mom and dad ever.
So tell me the truth. If somebody told your kid, don't throw strikes, you'd say to yourself, what is this guy, nuts? Well, I can tell you that Rich Taylor is anything but nuts. Rich has a remarkable pitching background, and he wrote a book called Don't Throw Strikes. In that book, he will explain mechanics, pitch selection, mental toughness, strategy, everything involved with pitching and everything involved with baseball in general. So Rich is not nuts, and let's see what Rich has to say about Don't Throw Strikes. Hey everybody, tonight we have another special guest in Rich Taylor, who comes to us from Boise, Idaho. Rich is the owner of TaylorMade Athletics, and he also has a website called The Pitching Kingdom. Rich is also an author. 2 books, right, Rich?
Yep, 2.
2. So we got Don't Throw Strikes and Molding the Young Pitcher. Rich is also a member of the ABCA, which everybody knows is dear to my heart. He is the former Pepperdine University pitching coach. He's got 5 former players that are currently or former Division I head coaches, and that's phenomenal. Rich has been working with pitchers for 40 years, young pitchers for 40 years. So talk to us a little bit about that, Rich.
It all started years ago when I was coaching at Pepperdine, and I never gave a thought to coaching young pitchers and everything. I was a pitching coach, and we had a very good established program. And I started there, and all of a sudden people were coming to me and going, can you do lessons with my kids? And can you do this? And boy, we'd sure like to have you come and talk to our group or come out to this Little League and do a clinic. And it just grew from there. It just started there, 44 years ago as we speak. And I started doing things and got into a baseball school in Southern California with Dave Gorey, Guy Hansen, Mike Gillespie, who just passed away, and Dave Tremblay, who was a former manager of the Baltimore Orioles. We were all doing stuff with youth kids and youth programs and high school and junior colleges, and just got involved with all of them and got the West Coast Baseball School started down there. And it just grew from there. And I enjoyed, and I still to this day have a passion of working with kids and seeing them be successful and moving on. There's nothing better than seeing a kid gain some self-esteem, smile during a lesson, parents feeling good, and seeing that kid be able to execute and have fun in a game. So it's still going strong, Southern California, Northern California, down to Arizona, and here I am in Boise and enjoying stuff up here. I'm not a cold weather person, but I'm enjoying it.
Well, I can tell you I'm not a cold weather person either, but I've spent 61 years in New York, so you would think that I would get used to it, but I don't. I don't like the cold weather.
I feel for you on that one.
Working with the youth, I mean, again, I could not agree with you more. There is a lot of, I guess a lot of joy would be the word I would use in, taking players and see them grow and see them get better as the years go by. And, I just wish that like you had mentioned about, parents. I just wish the parents would understand a little bit more that this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And, it takes time for these kids to develop and become good players.
Oh, I don't think there's any question. I'm constantly educating parents, on a daily basis. I remember years ago spending a week down at the American Sports Medical Institute with Dr. Andrews and going through there and talking with them. And, we always said, gee whiz, parents need to get educated. And, he's always going to have a job doing what he does and all the surgeries on kids. And I'm always going to have a job trying to get these kids to the, straight and narrow and understanding mechanics and educating parents. I encourage all the parents when I do clinics, when I do lessons, to stick around and understand and start to learn and not just rely on, people to teach their kid. Learn and educate yourself, and, such as giving them information on the PitchSmart website and different people around the country that are very good pitching coaches, very knowledgeable. I send out a thing every year when I do clinics that's, check out these websites with these people. And it's just a constant, I wouldn't say battle, because we all know now that there's studies going on about, arm injuries in professional baseball, and studies being done, and everybody's theory on what's going on. So it's come to the forefront, and a lot of people say, well, it needs to start in youth baseball. It needs to start with Major League Baseball. There's different theories, but I certainly think that we've got to educate the kids. We've got to talk about arm care. We've got to talk about, doing things correctly. And you're right. It's not a race. It's a process, and they have to learn step by step. And it's like, it's going to take a couple years, and you have to learn your arm care routine, and you have to take care of your arm. Alan Jaeger, who I'm sure and everyone out there knows, he always had a saying that I thought was great: your arm is your future. And it is. There's no question. And after having spent time with him and done clinics and arm care clinics and going all over the country and doing stuff with him, you start to see that, boy, if we educate the kids and we educate the parents, we're getting there. But you know what? There's so much, we've just bitten off a little bit here and there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite things that Alan says is listen to your arm. I mean, does it get any simpler than that? And yet it's so true. Listen to your arm.
Very much. It's like, there's different theories on long toss, and there's different theories on bands, and there's different theories. But really, when you get around to it, it's like putting all the methodologies together and taking into consideration, a child's arm, and making sure that there's enough rest, and making sure we, stick to pitch counts. And a lot of people around the country, as you well know, don't do that. And, they're trying to, win tournaments, win games, do things, but it's like develop pitchers, go through the process, have them, nurture their arms, make sure things are good. Parents are educated, and, be an advocate for those kids. Don't bastardize the kids, to win a tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been seeing a lot more on social media, and I'm sure you have if you follow it, where, people are posting about these young kids, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, throwing over 100 pitches this time of year. And I just don't understand. I mean, I coach at the varsity high school level. My guys this time of year are topping out around 60, 65 pitches, and then they're out.
Yeah, in the state of Idaho here, and I coached on the high school level last year at Middleton High School. We had a very, very good season. The state of Idaho, and I know other states have the same thing. There's X amount of pitches, early in the season, X amount of pitches as the season goes on. But more importantly, X amount of days rest. Yeah. And I think that's where sometimes we're missing the boat. We are having kids pitch on a Saturday and a Sunday and a back to back and X amount of pitches, when you really look at the state of Idaho and other states, those high school guys, if they pitch 30 or more pitches or 40 or more, there's a day rest. And then if it's 60, it's 2 days rest. And I think we have to be very cognizant with kids to give them that rest, and that doesn't always happen.
Yeah. I just noticed that I moved from the Catholic High School Athletic Association in New York. Now I'm coaching in a New York Public High School Athletic Association. And in the New York State Association, their pitch counts are different than they are in the Catholic high school. And when I first looked at the chart, I forget what it was. I believe if a kid pitched up to 65 pitches, he only needed 1 day's rest. And when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right to me. So I went back and I go by the Pitch Smart chart, and that's the way I do it. And I looked, and it's different. So, whatever New York State says that I could do, well, I don't do that. I even cut that down.
Yeah, and some people that look at the Pitch Smart thing and everything go, well, that's too conservative and it should be higher. And, but, we're dealing with kids. We're dealing with youth, they've got plenty of time. I've always believed, travel baseball, rec baseball, whatever it happens to be on the youth level, that's all spring training for high school. We're trying to get kids to high school and have them compete at that level. And so pitch counts, are so important. I know a lot of people in the past have, said, well, you can pitch X amount of innings, and they're forgetting about pitches, competitive, pitches in a game. And, that's just as important. Yeah,
I agree. So talk to me a little bit about where I guess you would call it one of your mottos is, we just don't develop an arm, we create a pitcher. I love that saying, and I want you to explain it.
It's like a lot of people can, go out there and teach, pitching mechanics. There's so many good people around the country that I've seen. And on the, on the flip side, there's a lot of people out there that, that are putting things out that are outdated information and not sticking, to what's going on these days or understanding. So when we talk about creating, it's like, it's like we could just have you go out and do the mechanics and we'll see you later. Talk about creating a pitcher. It's like, I want to help their self-esteem. I want to help them, get better mentally in a game. I want them to enjoy baseball. It's like we're going to create someone. We're going to develop these mechanics and we're going to go step by step. And so we're creating something. It's like an artist, it's like we're painting this picture and we're painting this kid as we go step by step so that when he gets through with his first year, he has an idea a little bit on how to pitch. And so when he begins his next year, it's like, all right, I've got this. I learned how to pitch this whole year. And so we create that, deal where it's like, all right, you're learning this. And then I talk to them about the mental, it's like, breathe, visualize, compete, and we start to talk about that. So that's part of that creation and developing a foundation for them to pitch, not just looking at kids that throw hard and go, all right, well, he can pitch. And so we just take it step by step. And I like to, wrote the book Molding Young Pitcher. I like to mold the kids into a complete, pitcher, and they enjoy playing in the game. And so that's what we do. We create them.
Yeah, I interpreted that as, like you said, about mechanics and everybody wanting to throw the ball through a brick wall, not understanding that there is an actual way to pitch. Changing speeds, moving the ball in the strike zone, setting batters up. There's more to it than just reaching back and throwing as hard as you can.
Yeah, and the other thing is I truly, can say this. I care about every kid I worked with, and I've worked with 1,000. I care about them. I care about them as an individual. I care about them, as a family. I care about the kid. I don't just get someone and, like I said, just develop them and they're out the door. So, I care about those kids and where they can, go in the future. And, it's said many a time before, it's like, if you're a pitching coach or anything like that, have fun with your kids, have a sense of humor, have some charisma, enjoy the teaching process. It's not just, in the door and out the door and take a payment.
Yeah, I mean, even as a coach, I look at it the same way where I like to have a little bit of humor. I like to see my players laughing, enjoying themselves, having a good time. I mean, don't get me wrong. When we have to get down to it, we get down to it. But Yeah, I agree with you 100%. You want to create that light atmosphere so that the kids are, what we say all the time, the kids are having fun. It's not a job. It's having fun.
They look forward to coming back to working with you, if you enjoy them, I mean, I'll allude to the fact with the kids sometimes about SpongeBob, and all. I mean, I just relate to kids on their level. And I think that's the big thing is being able to convey the message. People ask me all the time, Rich, what makes you a different pitching coach? And, I say, I'm just as astute and knowledgeable as so many people around the country. And some people are obviously more experienced than I am. But, I can convey the message to these kids. And when you convey the message to them and they enjoy what they're doing, they want to come back. They want to learn again. I can't begin to tell you how many parents, sometimes if I have to cancel a lesson, for some reason or another, they'll say, boy, he was really looking forward to it. And when I hear that, I know that I've reached that kid. And that's what gives me joy, for lack of a better word.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that there are people, like you had said, that look at it like, okay, I got a lesson. All right, come on in, give them stuff. Okay, next lesson, where they don't take I guess I would term it as take a personal interest in that particular player, which I don't know. I think that would probably make the time go quicker and make it more enjoyable for you as well as the kid.
This on the high school level. It's like take an interest in every one of your players on your team. Find out what they're about. What do they like to do? What do they like to do on weekends? Everything. Kids like that when you ask them questions. I ask kids on a daily basis. How was school today? What's your favorite subject? What was the best thing you did at school today? I don't even talk to them about baseball. What are you doing this weekend? Hey, what's your favorite baseball team? You take an interest in them just like you do on the high school level. You take an interest in the players like that. They know you care. And when they know you care, your team's going to be more successful.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And it seems to be almost every show where I have to touch on this, where, what we're talking about is being transformational as opposed to being transactional. And yeah, I mean, you want to get to know your players, know what makes them tick. We talk about it again all of the time where, there's one player that you might have to kick in his butt, to get him going. There's another player that if you do that, you're going to lose them. So you need to know that.
Oh yeah, there's no question. You get kids that I work with that are very quiet, and they don't say a word in the whole lesson. And then you get kids they're talking all the time. They want to tell you this, and you start to learn and be able to mesh and everything. But you treat everyone a little bit different. And then you see some kids that they need that little fire. They've got to get a little bit going. And it's like a passion to pitch. And you try to teach them about. And talk to them about competing. How do you compete in a game? And it's funny to talk to kids because you get all different kinds of definitions when you ask them questions and everything. But you also learn from them as well. Because that's what they're thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you touched on something there too that about talking to kids about competing and how they compete. Yeah, that is, to me, one of my biggest challenges, because I don't believe that kids, I think, I'll put it this way, I think that kids need to have it explained to them how to compete.
Oh, I don't think there's any question on that. It's like, I always explain to kids, about the competition, but I always explain to them about constructive criticism and how coaches are trying to get them to compete and what constructive criticism means. Doesn't mean we're mad at you. It doesn't mean we're yelling at you. It doesn't mean we're trying to get you better. And as we get you better, you're going to be a better competitor. But they've got to understand that, because some kids, you'll say something loud or everything, and they'll just kind of say, well, gee whiz, he's upset with me, or they're working with their dad or their coach, and gee, he's always mad at me. Well, probably not. They're just trying to get you to compete. And when I put kids on the mound, I just say, you know what? It's kind of a lot of self-talk. It's like, I've got this. I can do this. And attack. Throw hard to the glove. Things that they can really relate to from an intangible idea.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, self-talk is a big part of what we teach because everybody does it. And if you put the wrong thoughts in your head, which, again, it's funny because I see a lot where kids' self-talk is actually the opposite of what we want them to do. So in other words, I'll use this as an example, and I don't remember exactly what happened, but there was, I know what it was. So one of my kids came in and he was pitching, and he pitched really well. What he did was, first batter that came up, he gave up a triple, but then next guys, he mowed them down. So when he came off the mound, I went over to him and I said, "I'm proud of you, bud." I said, "You did a really, really good job." And the first thing that came out of his mouth, "Yeah, but I gave up that triple." And I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "Why are we focusing on the negative?" I said, you did something really good. You gave up a triple, you recovered from it, and you went about your business. But again, to your point about the self-talk, most kids, they self-talk about the wrong thing, so we have to teach them.
Oh, there's no question. When they're on the mound and you start talking about, being positive and making, one pitch at a time and so on and so forth, they're out there thinking, all right, how many outs are there? All right, oh, gee whiz, here's Johnny. He's the best hitter on the team. We're losing. I gave up a hit to him last time. And yeah, you've got to be able to start to get them to channel things, when I did things with Alan Jaeger, and I respect that. I respect him so much. I do this with kids to this day. I've actually lay them down and we relax and we breathe and we start to understand and think about the things that you want to think of on the mound from a positive standpoint, and breathing and closing our eyes and a meditation type thing. It's like Alan has, the wound or the warrior, mental warrior thing out now. And it's fantastic. And so trying to get kids along those lines, because they're always, you're exactly right. It's like they're thinking the wrong things, and we got to send them down the path of thinking about the right things and positive. And with younger kids, that's not an easy thing to do.
Right. With the younger ones, yeah, sure. That's very difficult. What I do is I explain to them that, and this is like the foundation of how I present this to the players, is that when they talk to themselves, instead of saying, "I will," like if you're up at bat, "I will get a hit," or "I won't roll over," or talk to yourself as you. So say, "You will get a hit." Because then what that does is, to me, that brings in that maybe it's another voice that's going instead of the I, me. It's almost as if the coach is talking to you.
Oh yeah, and I think you're right on that. It's like, you know what, you can do this. You can make this happen. You can, there's all different ways to mentally get in tune with games. There's no question.
Yeah. So, I think, again, self-talk is very, very important. I wish more coaches would understand it and would implement it because, again, it's just something that we all do. So you might as well do it in a positive way. It just makes sense, right?
Well, what's interesting is, and I do this a lot, you go to do a coach's clinic, and I've done a lot of them, and I'm sure you've done them, and you go to coach's clinics for youth deals, and I ask the coaches all the time, so tell me how much, baseball is mental. And you'll get people that are saying, well, 90%, 75%, 150, whatever. And then I look at them and I go, so how much mental time do you spend in practice? And they'll look at you and it's like, a good percentage of them is zero.
Yeah.
I said, but you just told me that for all these youth kids, it's like it's 100% mental.
Right.
And you've got to spend some time, with the mental part of the game, not just knowing where to throw the ball and everything. That's obviously mental stuff too. But, how to control your emotions, how to be positive, what to think when you're on the on-deck circle, what to think on the mound, what to think in the outfield, all those different kind of things is mentally needs to be done. But we sometimes forget that, and, basically, as I wrote this book, Don't Throw Strikes, people laugh and go, gee, that's an interesting title. What's it about? And I said, well, it has to deal with all the mental things that kids think and go through in the course of a season and a game. It's all the mental things that parents should start thinking about, and we meshed it together, and it's actually a kid actually pitching in the game. And so, it's a tremendous, tool for parents to sit back. And the books that I've sold so far, people come in, and I've been getting emails all the time. It's like, wow, I can see myself in this book, Rich. I'm just going, that's exactly why I did this, so you can get it.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you went there, because that's the next place that I was going. And I went through, the book, Don't Throw Strikes. And for everybody out there, this is about a coach that goes to a 9-year-old game and is watching the pitcher, and kind of helps him through. And I'm assuming that coach was you, right, Rich?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's something that I just put together, and the way we did it, I got some ideas, and yeah, it's talking to this player during the game while he's pitching, and then alluding to certain situations so parents can relate at the same time, and they understand what a kid's going through on the mound, and because I'm talking to them, and then I jet back into, hey, so here's what we're talking about.
Well, I want to go through a couple of those points, because I really loved it. I got to be honest with you. I went through the whole thing, and it's just what you said. It's a guide for, I believe. I mean, my take from it was that it's really for the parents to understand, and the youth coaches, so that they can understand how to coach. But it's about a 9-year-old boy. His name is Stryker. And the first thing that I want to touch on, because you go right into this, which is beautiful, is you talk about kids being in pleasing mode. Yeah,
and it's what you got talking before, about being out of the mound and not thinking about the right things. But kids, when they're in youth baseball, 9, 10, 11, and 12, which is kind of where this book was targeted to the parents of those age groups. They want to do well for their parents. They want to be the best pitcher. They want to do things, and as they're in this pleasing mode, it's like I tell kids all the time, I said, hey, on the front of your jersey, does it say mom? No. Does it say dad? No. I said, it's got the name of your team. I said, you need to please yourself. You need to help your peers, do well in a game and be a part of the thing. And so you're contributing. And I said, it's not about pleasing mom and dad ever. It's like they're still going to love you. They're going to cheer you on at every single game. They're going to be with you, whether you win, lose, or draw. And I said, so now you've got to learn how to compete, and you can't try to please them. The only thing you want to really please your parents on is grades. Get good grades, please your parents with good grades, and do well at school, and be a good person, and be a good student, and you'll be fine. But as far as the baseball field is concerned, it's like, compete and don't worry about them.
Right. And what I gather from that also is something that, and I'm sure you do the same thing, we all do as coaches, that we want to let players know it's okay to fail. Okay, it's okay to make an error. It's okay to give up the home run. It's okay to make mistakes, because that's how we learn, number one. But I think where things go a little sideways is with parents, because, again, kid will, had a bad game, let's say. He goes 0 for 3 and he made 2 errors. Well, instead of the parent saying, hey, listen, I had a couple miscues today, but look, I think you played a good game. I love watching you play. It looked like it was a lot of fun, this and that. What they're doing is they're by focusing on the strikeouts and the errors, what they're doing is they're telling the kid, well, you're not pleasing me.
Exactly. I constantly talk to parents about, the failure thing, and you touched on that. The failure thing is going to happen. Don't, scream and yell at them and chastise them for doing something, because, if you look at professional baseball players, my goodness, 70% of the time they fail. They don't get a hit. Pitchers last year in professional baseball threw 57% strikes. Well, that means, 43 or 40% of the time they're not doing it, and so understand that your son and daughter, in playing, it's like, it's okay to fail. You made a very good point there. It's okay to fail, and it's going to happen. Not every single game is going to be good. And, I touched on it in the book too. It's like after the game, and I learned this with my kids, and I've talked to people, and after the game, let things go, and enjoy life after the game. Go get something to eat, drive home, but don't chastise and talk about the game and things like that. A couple days later, you can sit down when everything's nice and calm and cool and say, so let's talk about those, a couple of errors, or you're struck out in this, or we made a bad pitch. And my kids always appreciated the fact that I would do that. I would never say anything after a game. And you get more out of that down the road than anything else. And that helps them understand that they don't have to please mom and dad, and that also helps them understand that you're not upset with them. And it also helps that, here is a teaching moment.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I look back when I was coaching my son, and, don't get me wrong. There were times where I was that dreaded parent, but I learned that that's not the way to do it. And then over time, I learned that, and it's funny because he'd get in the car, and I would look at him and say, hey, I think you did today. But, oh, Dad, I did this, whatever, I did that. And I would look at him and say, yeah, you want to know something? You suck today. We would start laughing, because I was making light. He knew I didn't mean that. And we would laugh and say, come on, let's go get something to eat. And that was it.
Yeah, I had my son one time, same thing. My son gave up a home run at a game, and this ball must have flown 700 feet. And it was up there, and, and so, we were driving home, and this is where, you've reached your kid, and you've got a good rapport, and they can talk to you, and you can enjoy the game and not have to, worry about failure. And he goes, Dad, did you see how far that guy hit that ball off me? And I said, yeah. I said, I could see the stewardess, in the plane ducking, and the lights on the plane and whatever. I said, yeah, I saw how far that went, the landing lights on the plane. And we both laughed, had a great, thing. And he knew that, I wasn't upset. It happens.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of times, and I've said this before too, that parents, they get upset and they start, I'll call it lashing out and, beating up on their kids, beating up on everybody because they're embarrassed. I believe that is a very big part of it.
Oh, I agree with you there. They want their kids to do well in front of everybody else. We all do, I mean, at every level, even in professional baseball, you got a kid that's out there that just got called up to the big leagues. Man, I like to see him do well, And so we're in that mode of getting to do well, but it doesn't always happen like that, and we get kind of upset and and losing our cool, and that's where I go back to saying, what, a couple days later, talk to them after the fact. Don't get upset during that time. Don't let on. That and. The kids may want to bring up the conversation too, and it's like, no, right? We'll talk about it a few days later. So,
yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely the way to go. Make light of it, have fun. They're kids, and the more they enjoy it, then the more they're going to want to play. So it's really that simple. But so one of the things in the book is, and I'm paraphrasing here, is that Stryker said that he hears everybody say to him, just throw strikes, just throw strikes. Why is that bad?
It's like the reason I wrote the book, just throw strikes. When you tell kids that and you're conveying that message, and coaches say it all around the country, and the other one that goes along with it, just let them hit it, or don't walk them, those kind of things. Well, the just throw strikes deal is like they will tend to aim and guide the ball, slow their arm speed down. They're trying to be, again, kind of be in that pleasing mode. I'm going to please the coach. He'd say, oh, I got to throw a strike here. And so kids tend to not cut loose and throw the ball like they have been, and the don't throw strikes. But it's been ingrained in us for years. I mean, I say in the book, it's like travel around the country, but like, you're at home and your dad's watching a game and he's yelling, "Come on, throw strikes!" and you hear throw strikes here, and from the time kids are so young, that's the main thing: throw strikes rather than throw hard to the glove, attack, all those kind of things. And it lends itself to aiming and guiding the ball, and not, when you talked before, Jimmy, about, that they're not competing, they've taken a step back, and it's just getting the ball over the plate.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love the word that you use, because I use it all the time, is attack. You'll hear me say that at a dugout. Come on, let's attack right here. Those type of simple cues. And, the reason why I brought up the thing about just throw strikes, because it always amazes me when people yell that, just throw strikes. Well, what the hell do you think the kid's trying to do?
Well, yeah, it's like I said in the book. It's kind of like, do you actually think that, a pitcher, a child is out on the mound? Do you actually think he's out there on the mound one time and he's going to go, I am going to throw a ball in this pitch just to watch my dad's head explode?
Yes.
Just, because I'm kind of ticked, and it's like I mentioned in the book, it's like, hey, Jimmy, is that your dad's head, like a Jack in the Box? Is that your dad's head down by the left field foul pole? Yeah, that is. Well, how did it get down there? I didn't throw a strike, whatever. So.
Yeah, it's just, it really amazes me, that phrase. I mean, and so many other things. As a matter of fact, we'll go into it, because I wrote it down here, because it's another pet peeve of mine, is when parents, coaches, that they coach from the dugout, okay? So they're yelling out, and you listed a few things: follow through, release it later, bend your back, focus, don't drop your arm. I mean, you'll probably explain it better than I do, but for crying out loud, you just loaded that kid's head with all kinds of nonsense.
You're overloading the kid, and so instead of the breathe, visualize, and compete, you've overloaded him with a bunch of things. And those things should be taught in the bullpens, during the week. It should be taught in the bullpen before the game. When they get in the game, I really believe this, practices belong to the coaches and the games belong to the kids. And so, you know what? You can't overcoach in a game. You overload them with too many things. And in a kid's mind, the last thing that a coach usually says to that kid is what's on that kid's mind. Unless he can get back into that zone of breathe, visualize, compete, he's heard the coach say follow through. So that's the only thing on his mind is he's going to throw is follow through. So instead of, competing in the game or, being back in that zone of visualizing, he's heard what the coach said over here, or another coach said this over here. So he's heard two or three things, and you're exactly right. It overloads their mind, and they can't think of all that. And I never, ever in the past, I don't coach a kid on every single pitch. I don't care if it's a ball or a strike or whatever it is, and just let him pitch, and there may be things, between innings you can tell him. But if you're coaching a kid on every single pitch and you're saying something, it's okay to say, hey, good job, great pitch, but don't keep throwing instruction in there, because you hit on it. That's too much of an overload.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm going to go towards something else that you mentioned in the book, which I love. It's pretty much my motto is that, we play this game one pitch at a time. So one of the things I'll yell from the dugout is, okay, come on, let's win this pitch. That's about it.
Yeah, and other coaches have, let's win this inning, let's win this pitch. Yeah, let's, it's not about winning the game. And we both know, as you teach good fundamentals, winning takes care of itself. And so, you're telling kids, one pitch at a time. And that's a very difficult thing for them to think about, because again, unless you've got them zoned in and you've got that mental aspect going, they're thinking about a lot of things. But it is one pitch at a time, It's like I try to tell kids, pitches take care of innings, take care of games. Exactly. And you need to focus on one pitch at a time, and things will happen, one pitch, and keep doing that. I mentioned in my book, of talking with Marv Dunphy, who used to be the volleyball coach at Pepperdine University when I coached there. And we got in a discussion one time about, one serve at a time, one set at a time, and then we got into, and so that's kind of where I started establishing things and really listening to him talk about, one thing at a time. And so when I work with kids, it is one pitch at a time. And you know what? When you make a bad pitch or somebody hits it, like you alluded before about the guy who gave up the triple, it's like, you know what? That's done. There's nothing you can do about it, so go back and get excited about the next pitch and, go at it. Same thing, attack it again.
Right. I mean, it's the old adage, right? Control what you can control. That triple is gone. You can't control it anymore. It's finished. Now,
Precisely.
What's that?
Precisely. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, so now if you're going to focus on that, well, now your next few pitches are going to be pretty bad because you're not, you're not engaged.
No, very, very true. And it's, pitching, for younger kids, for anybody, it comes down to how well you can control your emotions. The only emotions you can control in the field are yours. The great thing about pitching and trying to convey the message to kids, it's not 1 against 1, it's 9 against 1. So guess what? One pitch at a time, guy hits a pitch. We got some people that can play defense, and I realize on the youth level that doesn't always take place. But, do your job and, we're in good shape.
Exactly. I can't tell you how many times throughout the years where a pitcher would be upset, because maybe the defense let him down. And what I do is I just say, listen, they're your teammates. Believe me, there's sometimes where you're going to go out to the mound and you're going to throw 40 pitches in an inning. Do they come to me and say, well, the pitching wasn't good today? It happens. That's the game. Sometimes the defense is bad. Sometimes, when everything comes together, obviously we win, but that's the game. So, you have to learn how to deal with that.
Well, there's no question. I mean, we all look at professional baseball, teams that win the World Series lost 87 games during the season, it's like, and they're winning the whole thing. So it's like, well, guess what? Do you think after the 23rd loss of the season, they're giving up? It's like, no, they realize that there's another game of 162.
Yeah, absolutely. So another thing that you talked about was in the book about Striker and his release point. And I like the way you talked about hit the big rock with the little rocks. Why don't you explain that? I love it.
Yeah, it's something that I came up with a long time ago because, kids are talking about release point and you hear coaches say, release it here, release it there, release it. So, and I've actually done this and it's actually fun. I've actually, there's a bunch of reels that I put together here in the last month or so that'll be coming out, on Instagram and around and for the book. So I took a bunch of kids down and I've done this, but you take a bunch of kids down to the river. So you go on a camping trip and you go to the river, the lake, and there's a big rock out there, and it's like, your brother or your dad or your teammates, it's like, hey, let's try and hit that big rock out there. So you take the little rocks on the shore and you start to throw, the rocks out of the big one. Well, two things you got to figure out right away: how hard I need to throw it and how far, and once you figure those out, you start to get closer to the big rock, if not hitting the big rock. So the muscle memory of your release point has kicked in and you're not thinking about throwing it over a 17-inch home plate. You're just out there with the release point trying to figure it out. And once you figure it out, you start hitting the big rock. And so, the mental imagery kicks in, the release point kicks in. So how does that correlate to being on the mound? Well, when you're standing on the mound, you got to figure out how hard you need to throw it and how far to throw it over that 17-inch plate. And maybe the first 3 or 4 are everywhere, but as you learn your mechanics and you start to do the good mechanics and you get a consistent release point with the muscle memory, well, guess what? Now you're learning how to pitch. And I call it my big rock, little rock theory. And I explain to kids the very first lesson I ever do with them and the very first clinics I ever do with kids, and they get it, And when we were talking about conveying the message and having a visualization things for kids, they can pick up on that, because I tell them, I said, there's no coach and no dad and not me. Nobody can teach you release point. It's like, it's on you. I'm going to give you all the parameters. I'm going to give you everything you need to know to make it happen. But the release point's on you. And once they start to realize that, then the big rock, little rock theory comes into play. And it was fun taking these kids down and doing it and everything like that, because as we were doing this, filming this reel, kids were throwing rocks and everything, and they had their uniforms on and everything. And one kid goes, he kind of looks up at me, he's like 9 years old, and he goes, "Hey, you know what? Your theory works." It's kind of funny.
Oh, God, that's hysterical. But yeah, I mean, I love it because it's about making adjustments, really, because if you put it on that scale and, the kid throws a rock and he misses the big rock way to the right, well, now he's going to maybe change his focus to maybe a little bit left of the rock, and then he'll find that release points that's going to get him there. And that's why I loved it, because I try to explain that to players that, if you're missing high, then you have to pick a point lower than his glove because you're missing high to make those adjustments. I mean, is that pretty similar to the concept there?
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's like make an adjustment. And when you're throwing rocks like that, yeah, you make an adjustment. And when they learn how to do that for something like that, then it's like, all right, making an adjustment in a bullpen session, they start to get it, they start to understand about the release point. And there's a lot of kids that, that get frustrated because they can't throw it over the plate. And I just say, you know what? It's going to happen. The mechanics are going to fall into place, where you're stepping, where you're, everything. But eventually you're going to throw the ball over the plate. And I don't think over all the years, 40 some odd years I've done it, I haven't had kids not be able to, to come back and be able to do that. Yeah, at first, everything, balls are sailing everywhere,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I've seen them come back and start to see the little gleam in their eyes, like, hey, I can do this,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's another pet peeve with me, talking about, coaches and parents yelling stuff out while the kid's pitching, and you hear them yell out all the time, make an adjustment. Now, all right, I yell the same thing, but I've told my players what that means. So, when I say make an adjustment, they know exactly what I'm saying, whereas a parent or, a youth coach may be yelling it, is just telling him to make an adjustment, and the kid has no idea what that means.
Well, exactly. And a perfect example of that is, how many times have we heard in games, coaches yell out, or parent, focus. Well, you and I know what that means, and we are, adults, and we figured out. I can guarantee you, and I've asked kids this at a clinic, explain focus to me, and you'll get 10 different, ideas, or you'll get no ideas at all. If you don't explain to those kids how to focus, and when I tell them, it's like the breathe, the visualize, the compete, I go, that's focus. That's what it is. And that's really what it is. So when a coach tells you to focus from now on, that's what it is. But we have so many things, that we say, I know it has nothing to do with pitching. We have so many coaches that say, watch the ball. Okay. Well, once again, another general statement, but you better explain to that kid how to watch the ball, because we're all yelling it out, and I know that kid's trying, but unless you've showed him visually and explained him how to watch it, he has no idea what to do.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't be more right. But, a couple of things that you mentioned a few times that I want to go to was, you mentioned visualization, and this is big with me also. So explain that a little bit.
Yeah, the visualization, when I work with kids, it's, I tell them, when you're driving to the, to the bullpen we're going to do, or the lesson we're going to do, or driving to your game, close your eyes. And I get this from Alan Jaeger over all the years of working with him and working with kids. Close your eyes and start to breathe and visualize yourself throwing to the catcher's glove, or visualize yourself throwing to the 9-hole target that we have here in the bullpen, at our facility. Visualize you doing that. Close your eyes. See that, And when we get to practice, a lot of things we do in the bullpen, at my lessons is like for 5 minutes each time, we're lying them down and we're going through that visualization, so that when they get in the game, they now know what visualization means. Like, oh, okay, I gotta, breathe, and I've got to look through that tunnel. I've got to see, myself throwing it there. And, the mental imagery thing comes into place again. If you're doing something like that and your mind's taking a picture and giving you an idea on how to throw the ball over the plate, you're going to be much better in a game. You're going to have confidence about where to release it, how to visualize through that tunnel and see the pitch.
Yeah. Yeah. The way it was explained to me from my mental performance coach is when you visualize, the first time you do it in your mind is number one. And then when you actually execute it, so now you're doing it twice. And your chances of success go up, exponentially, because now it's the second time you're doing it. You already did it once in your mind.
Mm-hmm. No, that's and kids, have to, and it's tough to train kids to do that. I mean, it really is. That they've got to, because you'll ask what visualization means, and they really don't know. But you have to train them to do that. And once they get it, heck, working with the White Sox organization a long time ago, it's the same thing with those guys. It's like, hey, once you get this visualization down and you start to really zone in, it's going to be a huge battle for you to win. Yeah.
Yeah. No doubt about it. I mean, visualization is one of the things that I believe needs to be taught to players. And again, maybe the younger guys, might be hard, but I believe that if youth coaches start introducing these principles to kids when they're young, that when they do get older and they get to, high school coaches and stuff like that, and we do work on visualization, well, then they're going to know what we're talking about instead of starting from scratch.
Yeah, in the youth level, there's so many things, and the season is short, and you have a team one season, and the team's gone next year, and it's so many things happen, very, very quickly. You just have to lay down a methodologies and try to touch on as many things as you can, and the big things back to teaching. I know it's not just about pitching, hitting, and fielding. Yes, it is. Those are the fundamentals that have to be strong. But boy, start, the mental mindset of kids and where they need to start thinking. You're right. It starts, younger. I know in Southern California, when I was down there was a high school team, El Segundo High School, where George Brett went and a lot of other, professional players. McGregor went there. There was a lot of good players that went there, and the head coach at the high school there, John Stevenson, who I respected immensely, he had a program, and the little leagues in El Segundo all, were being taught the same thing that the high school players were being taught, both from a mental standpoint, physically. So when those kids got to El Segundo High School, they knew exactly what was expected of them mentally, physically. And El Segundo High School has won numerous CIF championships there and been successful. And I know John's not there anymore, but boy, it was something he instilled. And I always looked at that as like a model for the rest of the country. It's something that you can do.
I could not agree with you more. That I love that. I believe that we don't have enough of it. I know as a high school coach, if my local little league would want it, and that's part of the problem too, because a lot of times they don't want it. We don't want this guy coming in here telling us what to do. We know what to do, that type of thing. And I don't know, maybe that's a New York thing, could be, but I would gladly donate my time to go there and work with the young players. I would love it.
Yeah, I think the more we, once again, not overusing the word, but the more we convey the message and teach and educate both parents, coaches, it's gonna help the players down the road. And there's nothing better. And I see a lot of it, here in Idaho. They do a great job. See a lot of it, in different spots. Wish I would see more of it, but it's nice to have the high school players come work with the younger kids. At Middleton High School last year, we had a clinic, and all the players came out and worked with the kids, and we had like 100 kids or so. And it was great to watch the interaction going on. The kids really look up to the high school players, and they're starting to learn some things, and that's, it was exciting to watch that day.
Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine. I know that last summer I did a clinic for the town Little League. And, again, I just to see the kids just enjoying themselves, but that they're learning stuff. I don't know. To me, it was very, very satisfying. I'll just say that.
I've always said this. If a kid goes to a camp or a clinic like you're doing, a clinic that I'm doing, any coach is doing, high school, college, if that kid, that individual gets one thing out of that camp, one thing that he can take out of that camp's been successful, that clinic's been successful, you've been successful because the kid learned one thing. And that's, that's what you're trying to get to anyway.
Yeah, and you just touched on something that I try and hammer home all the time is that, and we talked about it earlier about being a marathon, not a sprint. But I think that people think that they have to overload the kids with a lot of stuff because, I don't know, maybe it makes them feel like that they're trying to convey that they know what they're doing. So they're giving all of this stuff out there when, maybe the kids just need to know how to take a cut the right way, work on that. If they can learn to do that, then they'll be that much better.
When I first start with kids in pitching, I make it very simple. And this is going to sound, corny, but I just tell them it's, up, down, glide, throw, finish. 5 things. I call it my high 5 mechanics. Yeah. Up, down, glide, throw, finish. Now, obviously a lot more goes into that, but I want them to have those 5 words, and so if they can get those 5 words, then we're on our way, and that's the foundation. And I'm not throwing a million things at them. I'm not giving them an essay. I'm not saying do this, jumping over here, jumping over there. It's just in its succession because kids learn, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, D, E. All right, up, down, glide, throw, finish. Yeah. And once they develop that foundation, it's like, oh, I got this, and then you throw it in with the release point and the big rock, little rock theory. And pretty soon you're starting to mesh something, lesson by lesson, game by game, practice by practice. And, I've often thought of when I've done camps and clinics, it's kind of the Disney theory. And the Disney theory is what keeps getting people coming back to Disneyland every year? Well, they always add something new every single year. So you're going to come back. And so, with kids, it's like the Disney theory, it's like add one thing every practice, have them get 1% better in that thing every practice. And they're on their way. It's like, don't overload them.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% that, and it was the next thing that I was going to bring up is to let parents and youth coaches understand to be patient.
Oh, very much. It's like we live in a society now that everything's got to be done quickly. I lived in Northern California for a while, and it's you got the internet and this, and everybody, after 2 seconds, people are flipping out because something isn't done, that quickly. Parents, have patience with kids. Every kid grows and gets better at a different rate. Every single kid. Not everybody can do something really quick. Some kids are more talented than others. Let everybody grow at their, what they can do. Don't try to say, all right, you need to do this. Maybe they can't do that. It's going to take longer than someone else. But have the patience and one thing at a time, and let them grow by themselves. You alluded to it before. Let them fail. But just let them grow at their rate, not the rate you want to see. And what you think it should happen, and be fast and have the patience. There's nobody at a youth baseball game with a college scholarship. All right. There's no scout, professional scout at a youth baseball game going, all right, yeah, this guy's looking good at 9, everything. We'll come back and see him in a couple years. It's like, that's not happening. It's like, be patient, things will take care of themselves, and, let it go from there.
Yeah, because we've all seen it. I'm sure you've seen it a million times is, the kid that may not be very good when he's 12, or by the time he gets into his man body at 18, 19, all of a sudden this guy's a stud player where, maybe the kid that was very good when he was 12, by the time he gets into his man body, he didn't make any progress. In other words, he peaked when he was, very young, and we see it all the time.
Oh yeah, I tell people I was down in Arizona at a baseball facility, and I hear two dads talking. Both their kids are 9 years old, and one of the guys asked me, so do you think my kid can play D1? And I'm looking at him, and I'm kind of like, he needs to learn how to put one foot in front of the other instead of worried about D1. And these two guys had the same conversation later as I'm walking by. And remember, these kids are 9 years old, and the dads are talking about exit velo. So what's your kid's exit velo? And I'm just thinking, I'm like, you know what? Here's the deal. They got to learn how to hit first. Don't worry about things like, and they're, throwing numbers at one another. And I'm just kind of going, all right, we're on the wrong track here.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's a lot of the issues that we do have, that we somehow have to find a way to change that culture where people understand that, and I know everybody out there saying, oh, here he goes again, because I say it all the time. The kids that have the hit tracks, and if they swing and they don't like their exit velo, and the next thing they do is they get in the box, and now their shoulders coming out, they're flying open, their heads coming out because they're swinging so damn hard because they want to get that, they want to see that number go up. Meanwhile, they're throwing all the mechanics out the window.
Yeah, and it's the same thing on the mound too. I tend to stay away with younger kids. Kids are, hey, coach, can you get your speed gun out, your radar gun out? No, it's like, no, I'm not. Let's keep worrying about this. Let's not worry about. And every once in a while, I'll do it at a camp and a clinic and everything, to just do it for the fun of it. But, that's not the major thing. It's like, I know you've seen this before, and I've seen it, and it's been on the internet and everything. And I actually think it was either the Rangers or the Royals or someone had it in their spring training thing. Nobody cares how hard you throw ball four. Yeah, I saw that and I went, oh man, I got to save that.
That's become my mantra. I have seen it and I say it all the time. I have a kid on my team right now that's, he's sitting high 80s. Maybe every once in a while he'll touch 90, and that's all he ever talks about. Hey, coach, you think I'll hit 90 tonight? Hey, coach. So I said, listen to me. I said, I don't care how hard you throw the ball. Okay, what I care about is, let me ask you a question. I said, how's your changeup? Oh, my changeup is great. Well, how many times did you throw it last game? 4 times. I said, well, then it can't be that good if you're throwing it 4 times. He wants it. He wants that velo. He wants to see that number so he could say, I throw 90. And, again, that's what I told him, exactly what you just said. I said, you got to understand something. Nobody cares how hard you throw a ball 4.
Yeah, the velocity thing is, I just believe velocity will take care of itself.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to take someone 11 and 12 years old, so you need to throw the heck out of the ball. It's like velocity will take care of itself. You're playing long toss, you're with this program, you're doing the program, arm care program, whatever programs you're on, because there's so many good ones around the country. Whatever you're doing, velocity will take care of itself. We don't need to force velocity, because we're forcing velocity these days, and some people have alluded to it in the last month. By forcing these young kids in velocity, we're hurting arms rather than, helping arms, and creating pitchers. We're getting off track of develop these young kids rather than how hard do I throw it.
Yeah, I mean, something that really opened my eyes the other day. Peter Caliendo posted something about Dr. Andrews, and he said that years ago, the progression was the major leaguers had the most Tommy John, then the college guys, then the high school guys. And Dr. Andrews said that it's actually flipped now, where the high school guys are getting it more than the college guys, who are getting it more than the pros. That was that was alarming.
Yeah, and I might have said it before, but I spent a week down there with Dr. Andrews and Kevin Wilkie and Dr. Fleissig. I spent a week of, going through pitching mechanics and learning some things. And we actually did a program with them, and we traveled around the country, doing things for Little League Baseball. And when I was down there, I learned that year, Dr. Andrews had done 50 Tommy John surgeries on kids 12 and under.
Wow.
And that was, I think that was like 2005, something, 2006, somewhere right around there. And to this day, there's a lot of Tommy John surgeries being done around the country on kids 12 and under, not just by him, but by, some of the other renowned orthopedic surgeons, and that is very alarming.
I mean, that just scared the crap out of me. 50 Tommy John surgeries on kids 12 and under?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. That's insane. That's insane. I mean, something has to change. I mean, wow. I mean,
yeah,
I think
it's become an epidemic, at the major league level. We see it now, and there's a big concern. There's studies going on, and people are looking at it, and people are saying, well, it starts in youth baseball. Like we talked before, youth baseball is it Major League Baseball. We just need to bring the awareness to everybody, and the awareness of taking care of arm care. Alan Jaeger does a great job of that, of talking about arm care.
Yeah.
And, it's like we need to really be cognizant now, because it's coming to the forefront, and it's I heard someone say the other day, it's like, well, it's, this Tommy John thing and all the kids getting hurt and younger kids, it's used to be an epidemic, and now it's a pandemic, and it kind of is.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, like I said, it's really real. And you know what? There's something else that, and we're kind of running out of time, but there was something else that I wrote down that I wanted to talk to you about, because maybe this has something to do with what we were just talking about. Is what do you think about, the way it is now, where baseball is like 24/7, 365 days a year? What do you think about that?
I like kids to play other sports. I like them to be involved in soccer, get involved in. I got some kids that do baseball with me, and they swim. They're swimmers. They're on swim teams. I've got kids that play football. Whether it's flag football or Pop Warner. It's just like I like kids to be well rounded. I like to introduce them, just like I did with my kids. Introduce them to all different kind of sports. They're going to pick out ones you like and everything. I mean, my son down the road, I introduced him to baseball and everything, and sooner or later he said, hey, I want to try football. And he ended up being a high school all-league, high school quarterback and going to college playing football. He didn't play baseball, So, the 24/7, I understand people are thinking you've got to specialize in one thing if you want to get a college scholarship, if you want to be good at something. And you look at a lot of the college coaches, baseball-wise, football-wise, they're looking for multi-sport athletes. And even scouts in professional baseball have alluded and said the same thing. We're looking for athletes, kids who can do some things, because as you play other sports, you use other muscles, it's training your body, not just one way to swing a bat, and that's all you do all the time. And don't get me wrong, there's kids that they're enjoying the one sport, that's what they're going to do. And more power to them, but love to see kids do other things.
Right. I think that they need to take time off just for the mental side of it, just so that they get a break mentally, because now it seems that even if a kid might be playing another sport, maybe basketball, he's still playing baseball at the same time. And that's something that I think has to stop. I think they need that break. 3 months, 2 months, 3 months, whatever. But just to get that excitement back, to be able to come back, okay, it's baseball time again.
Yeah, I see a lot of, travel baseball kids that are playing Pop Warner football in the morning and travel baseball in the afternoon, and I get the same thing all the time from parents. Well, he wants to do it. Well, maybe not. Maybe you want him to do it, and maybe that's not a good thing. And I see kids, especially if they're doing something and then doing baseball, we know as well as anybody else, a lot of arm injuries and a lot of injuries occur when kids are tired, when their arms get tired, when they get tired. And if they're tired at the end of the day because they've done two different sports or two different things, it's like, my goodness, that's just too much, because kids, you got to look at each kid individually: functional strength, muscular strength, skeletal strength, all these different things, growth plates, all that stuff comes into play, in all different kind of sports. And so why are we making them do something and then they're gassed at the end of the day, or they're gassed at the end of the weekend? That's just too much.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I think that it's really important for them to get away from it. I mean, whatever. I mean, you want to play fall baseball. Okay, so that ends like the middle of October. Take it off. Don't come back until, January, February when we start training again. But get away from the game. Relax. Take it easy. But everybody is so, like you said, they're worried about that college scholarship. They're worried about falling behind the other players. And again, you alluded to it. An athlete is an athlete. Okay. So if you take 2.5 months off from baseball, I really don't see how that's going to hurt you terribly if you're an athlete.
Not at all. My son, I was a baseball, football kid. And when we got to December 1st every year, I just said, we take off the month of December. There's no throwing. There's no baseball. There's no sports. There's nothing. Enjoy the holidays. Enjoy Christmas. Spend it with your family. Go skiing. All those kind of things. And we did the same thing in July when baseball was over before football started. We didn't do anything in July. It's like enjoy that month. Enjoy what's going on. And it never affected him one way or the other. And when you alluded to the mental aspect, now I'm not thinking about anything for a month. And I had people saying, at Christmas time, oh, yeah, we're going to this baseball tournament over in, Disney World, and we'd like your son Corey to play and everything. And I would just look and my son would say, no, I don't want to do that. We got to the mode of, that was the month that we didn't do anything. And you know what? He went on to play, college, football, and he went on to play high school baseball. And those months that we took off, had no bearing on whether he made the team, didn't make the team, those kind of things.
Absolutely. So, you know what, Rich? I can keep going, but unfortunately we're running out of time. Why don't you tell everybody out there how to get in touch with you if they want to reach out to you, if they have questions for you?
As far as the book is concerned, it's don'tthrowstrikes.com. You can pick up a copy of the book at don'tthrowstrikes.com. thepitchingkingdom.com, that's the website. That's another website, pitchingkingdom.com. And my email is tailormade2356 at gmail.com. So, but that's also on the pitchingkingdom.com. But hope everybody, Jimmy, I love the show. I know you and I, two baseball guys, we could talk till midnight. But, it's the Don't Throw Strikes book is near and dear to me. We're going to do a tour of clinics and stuff with that in mind in the future. And we're branding it differently with T-shirts and things. And so, that's something that, like I said, near and dear to me, and that's don'tthrowstrikes.com. When you click on that, you can get a copy of the book and, the ebook. And, for the price of a Starbucks coffee, you can get that book.
Yeah, so everybody go out there and get that book. I mean, let me tell you, I went through it, and, there's a lot of good information in that book that will help you to be a better baseball parent, a better baseball coach. And, I think Rich does a great job in portraying the message of what this is really all about. What about socials, Rich? Do you have Twitter, Facebook, and all of that?
Yeah, we've got Facebook, Don't Throw Strikes on Facebook. Don't Throw Strikes on Instagram, and we now have Don't Throw Strikes on Twitter. So you can, and we're coming up with some reels and things that'll be hitting the airwaves here this month and next month. We're excited about that, of all the information, and you can go there and pick up some more, info on pitching.
Awesome. I got to tell you, I'm really thankful that you reached out and, that you came on the show. And, I had a great time. So I want to thank you very much.
Yeah, no, good luck to you in the future. And good luck to parents and coaches and kids around the country. Pursue your dream.
Okay, Rich, we'll you and I will definitely stay in touch. And, thank you again.
All right. Thank you.
Take care now. So maybe now you have a little bit of a better understanding of what Rich meant by don't throw strikes. You know, I had said it in the show, and it always amazes me how parents and some coaches will yell out to their pitchers, just throw strikes. And like I said, what do you think the kid's trying to do? So if we take a different approach to pitching, more like what Rich is explaining, then maybe we could help these kids be better baseball players. So visit Rich's websites, thepitchingkingdom.com and don'tthrowstrikes.com. Go out and get his book. As you can tell from hearing from Rich, there's a lot of good stuff there. So I want to thank everybody for listening to the show. Once again, remember, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, shoot us out an email, clearingthebases@gmail.com. I really love interacting with all of you out there. It's really good stuff. So I really think that everybody will understand from what Rich said, because we really touched on it many, many times during the show. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you on the next one.